Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome back to another video over here on That's Comical. And if you are watching and it happens to be a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Well, we're back again for another episode of Stats, Trends, and Picks, and we are about to finish up quarter number 3 in September, but of course we are taking a look back at August to see how things went. It was actually a very good reading month with lots of really exciting stories in store, and let's not even beat around the bush here. Let's just go straight to the numbers. It actually dipped a little bit in regards to total comics. I mean, we definitely saw a massive step up in regards to the amount of comics that were coming out each month. I'm already warning myself that the last 4 months of the year are going to be astronomically high, but that's just because of the fact there's a lot of very interesting things coming around the bend, including a brand new DC event called DCKO, and of course the conclusion of the Ultimate Marvel Universe. So for August of 2025, it was a total of 51 books, and once again, the other conglomerate stepped up its game. They actually tied with DC at 16 apiece. Image Comics came in second place at 13, and of course Marvel is exactly where it has always been, dead last with 6, and once again, I don't see anything changing anytime soon. And then when we take a look at the percentages, yes, we have 31% for both the other conglomerate and DC Comics, as well as 25% for Image, and Marvel at under 12%. And as you can see here, this is a very dynamic graph, everybody. You can't even see the DC line because it is apparently right behind the other conglomerate line because they are officially tied. But I have no idea who's going to end up in the top spot at the end of December, but it's definitely going to be between these three because these titles that all of these companies are giving us, the Boom Studios, the Dynamite, the Dark Horse, along with Image and DC, there's just too many great titles, and that's why they're always going to be where they are, I think, for the rest of the year. Also, very excited to see what happens in 2026. But anyway, how did we fare in the month of August? Well, I'll definitely say that I completely forgot about half the books that I read just because of the fact that August was pretty much a blur. And now that the summer has officially come to an end, I have just been crazy bit. I'm just like already hitting a wall with the amount of work, but I am never going to forget my experience that I had at Terrificon. I couldn't believe all of the amazing creators that I actually met, and more importantly, all the amazing creators that signed some of my books. I managed to get some true memorable moments, and I'm just so excited to go back again next year because as of now, Andy has already said we're going, and it looks like Teddy might be joining me as well, so I'm really excited for Terrificon 2026. So when we take a look at August, in the first week of 2025, we were probably thinking that it might actually be Marvel on top, and that we would go with Chip Zdarsky's brand new Captain America run with issue number 2, because issue number 1 was surprisingly good. This was a book that I didn't even anticipate picking up. As a matter of fact, I'm already going to spoil you guys. I was very much against the wall when it came to the brand new Batman number 1 by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. I basically decided to bite the bullet because my local comic book shop manager just put it in my pull pile for the first week of September, and I just said, you know what, let me check it out. I'll tell you guys my thoughts on it in the future. But Captain America number 1 was pretty darn good. Captain America number 2, good, but not as good. But there was a better book, and there always is, and it was the start of the 3rd arc of one of my favorite books over at Mad Cave Studios, and that is Dick Tracy, number 11. Just so amazing to see this team just giving me one of my favorite books in comics right now, and of course, Mad Cave being the little indie company that just gives me all of these great books, and I am going to be seeing my purchasing of Mad Cave increase towards the end of this year as well. For the second week of August of 2025, I actually got this prediction correct, and I gave it to DC Comics Black Label book, W. Maxwell Prince, and Martin Morazzo, and Chris O'Halloran's Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum number 1. This was everything I thought it was going to be. It was Superman in the Ice Cream Man type atmosphere. It was weird, it was creative, surprisingly very bright and colorful, and I am so excited to see where the rest of this series goes because I loved this first issue. For the third week of August of 2025, I had a feeling it was going to go to the book that I anticipated it being at the top spot, and that was over at Image Comics. Rick Remender and Daniel Acuna Escape #1. This is a World War II epic with anthropomorphic animals, and unlike Captain America, that is unfortunately getting a lot of criticism, particularly from veteran comic book readers, and by veterans I mean people who actually served. They are criticizing Chip Zdarsky for his depiction of war and how many errors they're finding, but Escape is as real as it comes, guys. I am not even a war epic kind of guy. I mean, I've seen my share, Saving Private Ryan, Dunkirk, I've seen those, even some of the classics, but this was very real, very intense, and it just sucked me right in, and I'm really excited for this next issue coming up in September. And for the final week of August 2025, which actually was the week that I celebrated my birthday, I played it safe. I thought that it was going to go to DC Comics, Robin and Batman, Jason Todd at #3, the final book in the Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen series. This was definitely everything that I wanted it to be. This is definitely one of my favorite reads of 2025, but, you know, when you play it safe, you never know what's going to happen, and I was definitely satisfied with the fact that this one did not end up being my #1 pick, so for the month of August I went 50-50. Not bad. But it went to Mad Cave Studios, and it went to Speed Racer #2 by David Pepose. The first issue was so much fun, and even if this one didn't end up being my #1 pick of the week, I knew it was going to be in my top 3, and wow, this book is so exciting and so much fun. It's making me wonder if I like this more than Space Ghost right now, because Space Ghost was one of the top 3 reads of 2024 for me, but Speed Racer is already one of my favorite reads of 2025. So, I just love this book. David Pepose is just gangbusters right now. So excited for issue #3. So that was how August of 2025 went. How are we looking for September of 2025? Well, all I'm going to say is that it is going to be a very expensive month, and it's only going to get higher because there's just so many books coming out. So let's take a look at how September 25 is looking. For the first week, I actually am going to give it to a DC Black Label book, a book that has been some of my favorite reading for the entirety of 2025, but I don't talk about it this much, but I had a feeling that I may end up loving the final book in this series, and it definitely deserves a reread and a discussion, and that is DC Comics Black Label, Ram V, Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma, the final book of the miniseries, issue #6. Very much enjoyed this series, and I'm so excited to see how Ram V is going to close it. For the second week of September of 2025, I'm going back to DC and the Black Label, and I'm going with Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum #2. As you saw my enthusiasm for issue #1, so excited to see what issue #2 is going to give us. For the third week of September 2025, another DC Black Label book. How cool would it be if DC Black Label practically sweeps September? This was a big surprise. Had no idea this was coming out. Dan Jurgens, Mike Perkins, and Mike Spicer are teaming up again to give us the Batman second night. The Batman the first night, we talked about it over here on the channel last year, and we just had a blast with this first installment. Another 3-issue miniseries. So excited to see how this is going to go down, because based on what I'm hearing, there's going to be a 1940s version of the Scarecrow and possibly the Joker in the second night. We will see. And for the last week of September, I don't think there's any DC Black Label books, which is why I don't think it's going to actually sweep. But a 3-peat would be cool. But I'm giving it to Image Comics because Robert Kirkman is coming out with what he is touting to be his greatest creation. Something that he said is going to make grown men cry. So that interested me 100%, and this is Skinbreaker. Robert Kirkman doing the writing, David Finch, fantastic artist doing the artwork. I have no idea what this book is, but it looks, by the cover alone, exciting. And I think right now it's an 8-issue miniseries. I don't know if it's going to be an ongoing, but regardless, as someone who loves Robert Kirkman, but really hasn't read a lot of his past work, but currently reading Void Rivals and very excited for his take on Transformers when Daniel Warren Johnson passes the torch. Really excited to see what Skinbreaker is going to be like. And that is going to wrap up another episode of Stats, Trends, and Picks over here on That's Comical. Please leave your comments in the box below. Let me know how your August of 2025 went. Did I miss anything that you thought was very interesting that I didn't talk about? And what are some of your predictions for September 2025 in regards to your top reads? I will see you in the next one.